Of all the amazing educators I've been fortunate enough to speak to during this Therapist Together series, probably the one that I've worked most closely with, and certainly the one I'm very proud to call a friend, is Erik Dalton. Erik started off with a degree in psychology and then got interested in bodywork, studying soft tissue modalities and osteopathy, and has combined these quite diverse disciplines and has taken information from a lot of the really well regarded luminaries within our field, people such as Vladimir Yanda, we've Ida Rolf, Philip Greenman, Serge Krakowetsky, really the cream of the crop, some of the most amazing researchers and therapists out there. Eric's a really well regarded author. He has written three best selling textbooks and then has developed them out into courses. He's got a whole range of courses from foundation all the way through to advanced study. These are available as online resources, or you can get actual books and DVDs for those of you who prefer hard copy stuff. And in recent years, Eric has put them together into a really comprehensive MMT or Master Myoskeletal program, which is really nice because it shows us the kind of steps that are necessary to really achieve mastery in this very diverse discipline. Because Eric takes in so much. You can really see his influence in psychology, where he talks a lot about how we interact with our client, looking at things like pain science, the biopsychosocial model, even taking in what I find really interesting is the dose response that he talks about and how we interact with our client can really influence their hormones that they're producing and how that can really supercharge your treatments and get even greater treatment outcomes. So I've been fortunate enough to share a stage a couple of times over the last few years with Eric, and I'm really delighted to do so again now. So with that, I'd like to say, hi Eric, how you doing? Welcome.
Hi, Aubrey.
How are you keeping?
I'm doing good, man.
Good, good.
It's
You're
great
in
here in
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. Yeah,
Right.
we it's hot here.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
really?
day before yesterday it was 90 degrees, so my pool's finally warmed up out back, so I don't feel so confined. Able to get out, walk the dogs. My little doggies look up at me every morning and they go, "Let's not walk today." Three times yesterday. You know, they're getting a
It's
little
just
tired
too
of
hot.
walking. Yeah. It's hot and they're small. They got short legs, and I like to walk fast. And and with all this time, they get a lot more walking than they usually do. So it's all good. Terry and I are doing good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw one of your, the first of your Facebook videos that you've been doing recently, which is fantastic. I mean, talk about really providing quality training for free. So I think it's amazing. I love the belly work thing that you were doing. I don't know, like yourself and Terry, and I presume Barb was off camera, so I couldn't see Barb.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Do you guys have some kind of rejuvenation machine going? Like, how are you managing your stress? All of you look amazing.
we don't have anything to do but relax and take care of ourselves. Yeah, being in isolation, you don't get a camera crew in there. So Barb comes over, and we've got a couple of cameras. We don't know how the heck to use them. It's like, we're trying to figure out how to use these things. We got the vocal. We realized after we shot all these things that the vocal was full blast. So they're all redlined, as they say in the music business. And so that's been a challenge, but we think we have that down. So we're going to start shooting those in my living room, and just to give therapists, keep them thinking about body work and technique, even though it's hard to find somebody to work on these days, isn't it?
Yeah. And I
How
mean,
you doing over there? You working over there?
we're good. We're not back to work yet. We are very fortunate because our government recently announced that they're kind of accelerating the program to open back up. They had originally said they'd 5 phases, and now it's 4 phases. So we're getting closer, but it's a slow process. But
Yep.
part of what we've been doing this Therapist Together series is really, I suppose, to help therapists through what is a challenging time by showing them what some of the great educators in the business are doing and directing them towards resources that they can really be making use of this time to upskill, to develop, so that when they go back to practice, they're fresh, excited, inspired again. And I suppose I just wanted to chat to you a little bit about maybe we've mentioned already your Facebook videos, which are fantastic. We've only seen the first half. I can't wait to see the second half.
Yeah, let's see. The second half, I think we take the belly bloat, which I thought was an interesting one. I chose that. Actually, it did have the most likes on Instagram, so we ended up taking that because it was so odd, and I guess a lot of people think they have belly bloat, which they do. And The second part relates breathing to belly bloat. You know, we're inhalation fixed society, particularly right now. You know, you get your American Express bill when a lot of people aren't out working right now, and they're, you know, and you're inhalation fixed. You know, your scalenes and everything are pulling everything up, and the diaphragm kind of likes to get stuck up there. You know, and so we try to create some sort of techniques to get that diaphragm relaxed and the pelvic floor, do a little pelvic floor stuff. So the gas in from, you know, large intestine, small intestine, and stomach, the different types of places that we can form gas, start to also push up through that lower esophageal sphincter, causing things like GERD. GERD is not only just caused by, you know, dietary things and stress and all that stuff. It's also the gas that's pushing up, even all the way down from the large intestine up through the small intestine, up into the stomach, help making that sphincter weak, and so it gets up there and causes a gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. And it also affects breathing, because here you're stuck in an inhalation fixed with the diaphragm all elevated and everything, and the gas is also pushing on it too. So you've got gas pushing on it, and you've got your stress, you know, the stress hormones kicking in, you know. Yeah.
I thought it was a great technique. It's one that I know we've done before in class, and I've seen great results with my own clients, but even students have come back to me and said afterwards, you know, that was such an amazing technique. You see how many people are on antacids, and you realize how much of a problem this is. And when you master that technique, you can really help those clients to an amazing extent. So it's great to see that demonstrated. And I personally, on behalf of the therapy community, would like to thank you for demonstrating that one for free on Facebook. I mean, I think that's amazing.
Now, let me understand this. You have a background in nutrition, though, right? I mean, so I'm preaching to the choir, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, good then. No critique coming from you. I feel good then.
Well, my dad actually worked very much as a healing therapist through the use of nutrition. And he used to get amazing results with all kinds of complex conditions. And it's something we grew up with. I mean, they didn't have organic food when I was a kid. It was just, he always talked about eating food as close to its natural state as possible, basically avoiding processed food. So I grew up with this from the time I was a very small kid.
I remember in Costa Rica when I guess it was a couple of years ago. Well, what, first time you came was like three years ago? I thought you were like 30 years old. I couldn't believe it when you told me your age. You were a decade older than I thought. Remember how that went down? I was shocked.
That's nearly 10 years ago, Eric.
See what I mean? That's what it's to you, Aubrey. That's the thing. That's where we're going, buddy.
I think I've been following your tips, Eric.
Hey, I had, after I left the music business, I went to the Health Institute of San Diego, which was based on diet. You know, it was actually a cleansing process. It was all raw. No, we had our own big, you know, vegetable garden and everything, but it was all based on wheatgrass juice, enemas and implants. And problem is that it was a lot of it based on what I was trying to become at the time was a fruitarian, which now is absolutely, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, those kind of carbohydrates we don't need. We don't need that kind of sugar. You know, it really disrupts the hormonal system pretty badly. So I had some problems with that during that time, even though I did, I felt clean. I felt weak. I got weak from that eating, you know, too much fruit, too much raw stuff. I needed some more calming food. So yeah, I'm real interested in nutrition. And I talk to my clients about that too. That's part of the therapy, you know. You talk about what they're interested in, you coach them on whatever they need coaching up on. That's that biosocial thing that you just, you know, you get into after years of practice. If you don't, you run your people off, you know. So, you know.
I think that's very true. And I think it's a big turnaround for a lot of people where they're used to that kind of, you know, maintaining a professional distance and things like that. I think people do respond better to the kind of thing you've said you did instinctively from the very start, where, you know, you get involved with people, they become your best friends. I mean, you're always professional, but there is that kind of more holistic approach, you know.
Right. Yeah, I love my clients. You know, Terry and I go to Costa Rica a couple of months, this last year, 3 months to our house in Costa Rica. The thing that I miss most are my friends, my clients. Some of them have been coming to me. I moved back here, my practice from California back here in 84, permanently in 87. And so a lot of them have been coming to me. I had my very first client that ever came to me at my mother's house in Norman. I was visiting, and I don't know how he heard that I was a rolfer, and he came to my mother's house and dad's house in Norman, Oklahoma, and he still comes to me once a month.
Wow, that's
Amazing.
incredible.
Yeah,
That's a long
684.
term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
84. It's a long relationship. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I miss those people and I'm missing them right now. So, what my advice to a lot of therapists out there, keep in touch with those people, even if they do just them knowing you're out there for them. I FaceTime, some of them need FaceTime. Sometimes I can just give them a call. I find that email and texting them doesn't quite do the same thing. In the beginning, I sent them all out emails and all that stuff. But, I know the ones that are a little bit, can I say fragile, and need more coaching up, and yeah, everything's fine, and that pain. Listen, are you doing your nerve flossing? Are you doing your sciatic nerve flossing? Get on the floor. Okay, get on the floor just 5 minutes. All I want you to do is get down there. 5 minutes. I don't want you to do any more, because once they get on the floor, that's the way I usually trick my clients into doing floor exercises. I say, I want you to get down there, and I don't care what you do. I just want you to be on the floor for 5 minutes. Play. Get down and play. Because if you start making it structured, it's not fun. If it's not fun, they won't do it.
True.
Yeah.
Although I can see how you could, just about put up with missing those clients for Costa Rica, because it's such a beautiful place. I mean, Pura Vida is, I think that classroom, I always say this, it's my favorite classroom in the world. And I thank you for introducing me to it. I think it's amazing. And that kind of brings me on to my next point, is kind of what do people have looking forward to? What's coming up soon? I know we've got Oklahoma in September, Costa Rica again in November. I was talking to Kim. For those of you who don't know Kim Miller is Erik's Director of Education. And Kim was asking me, so do you think you're going to make it over to Oklahoma this year? And I said, Kim, at this stage, I'll swim if I have to.
I like that. That's funny.
But it's such an amazing experience. I mean, what I've found is that Oklahoma and Costa Rica are actually very different. They both have a really unique experience to offer. But this year, there's so many special guests coming. I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Let me take my list out so that I don't forget anybody. Of course, Aubrey Gowing. You know him, don't you?
Thank you. Yeah, I've heard of the guy. Yeah.
Whitney Lowe is going to be our special guest. Whitney and I go back forever. I think he was one of the first guys in the massage therapy community I met. I think George Casalius was the first person I ever met. And then James Waslaski, same convention, New England convention, walked in, and I had been a Rolfer for a long time, and I was not really in the massage community back then. Rolfing kind of wanted to separate themselves from the massage community. And I had just had my first course out in 97 and walked in this hotel scared to death, didn't know anybody, nervous and shy. And George Casalius was right there in the lobby. Aaron Mattis, I met him third or fourth, but I walked around. I saw some people sitting in the bar, went in the bar, and Waslaski was there, and he introduced me to all these educators, and he's going to be there. Sue Hitzmann, Melt, your interview was excellent with her. All your interviews with these guys. Matter of fact, I don't think you've interviewed all these guests already, and I'm last. Get this out here, you people realize this. Now he's interviewing me. It puts me way down on the list. Third building, fourth building, fifth building.
I've got to say though, I asked Erik first, but Erik's busy. He's doing all this great work for you guys. That's why he's slow to come on. But I asked him first.
Drew Friedman. Drew's a blast. Art Riggs, who is probably the best all-around Rolfer I think I've ever had their hands on me, except for maybe Jim Asher, the guy that Ida trained one of her first 3 students. Rick Grabowski, do you know him?
Rick, I know Drew very well, and I think those two guys work together.
Yeah, right? Those two work together, and they do a lot of the taping stuff. Really excellent. I think that's it. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but it looks like that's everybody I have on my list here.
Oh, is Til going to be there as well?
We're thrilled to have who?
Til Luchau.
Till, my gosh, where is his? I don't have his name on this list too. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know how that happened because Till's one of the greats. He actually couldn't remember. He taught what was it 2 or 3 years ago? Don't tell me, Till. He was a co-teacher. He was a co-teacher, and then last year we had Eric Stevenson, wasn't it? Was that last year?
That's last year.
He was a co-teacher, and he was hilarious and fascinating, with his guitar stuff on stage. God, that was totally amazing. So what happens in Oklahoma City is, I'll teach all day Friday, and then the morning of Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon, Whitney will come on, and he's doing a combination of his excellent assessment stuff. He's got some a new course coming out and books and all that stuff, ebooks and stuff on his revised assessment stuff. He's been kind of the guru of assessment for a long, long time. So he's teaching a combination of that and some of his active release techniques. So I asked him to do some techniques along with just the assessment too. So he's going to do both those in the afternoon. So he'll teach the afternoon session on Saturday. And then at 5 o'clock, the people can leave at 5, but they don't, because we break out into groups, have all the educators break out into this 8,000 foot ballroom, and people can go around to each of the educators and ask questions, watch them demo, do all sorts of things like that. And I got to give James Waslaski credit for that. He's the one that thought of that. Was it last year or the year before? He said, why don't we we're all here, we're educators, and we want to get our hands on people. And I go, well, of course, I would too if I were you, but shut up.
That was such a good idea. It worked so well. I mean, people were milling around the room because they're trying to see a little bit of what everybody does. I think it was fantastic.
It was. It really worked. Really worked well. And so we're going to do that again this year. That format's great. And then again, I'll teach on Sunday, and then we wrap it up.
Costa Rica is for you guys. It's Thanksgiving thereabouts.
Yeah. Yeah, always it's a weekend after Thanksgiving, usually a day after Thanksgiving. And this is our 21st annual Costa Rica retreat. And that's an amazing event because, we keep the Nanda Hall that you're talking about, that beautiful hall, open all the time. So people are in there working and stuff like that all the time. So it's much more than coming here and seeing me for 6 days. I would get bored of seeing me for 6 days. But fortunately, you're going to be teaching a segment. I think you taught on the second day second or third day. Yeah. But it's great because even when we go on excursions to the beach or to the waterfalls or anything like that, the people are talking shop. Yeah. You learn a lot more than what you're just learning in the workshop format. Yeah, it's an amazing experience, and it always sells out a couple of months ahead of time because we can only put 65 people in that room, and we bring 4 or 5 teaching assistants. I also wanted to say something about the rest of the teachers that are teaching. Hopefully, we're going to get you over here teaching sometime in the United States. I know you're teaching a bunch of events around. Where? Are you in
Europe,
Singapore?
Australia, Asia, everywhere.
You're all, man. Young legs, that's great. I love that. I admire that too. And Til, what about Til?
Yeah,
Til and Tom
are due November.
Yeah, just talking to Tom Myers the other day too, and I saw your podcast with Tom. He always does a fabulous podcast. We've been buds forever, and man, those guys just go all the time. They're teaching all the time, and Til saying, "Yeah, 2022, we're going back to Thailand." I'm going, I can't even think of 2022. I really admire those guys who can do that. I can't do that. I gave that up in 2012. We did the blue collar tour in 2012, and it was extremely successful. And it ended with the conference in San Diego that Scott Dartnell put on, the One Concept convention, fabulous. And then I decided that was it, man. A couple of workshops, and then I just wanted to stay home and work on my clients, and keep it simple, keep my life simple, and write, do the things I like to do, go to Costa Rica, but anyway, beside you, we have a couple other teachers I'd just like to plug real quick that are teaching for myoskeletal alignment techniques this year. Clinton Merrifield from Texas, Tammy McHugh. I think Andy's going to teach. Dave Klinger, Jane Dietert, Nate Fay, and Thomasina Larkin. Yeah. Yeah.
All part of the Dalton gang. Absolutely amazing. Oh, Kathleen.
Kathleen, God dang, we just posted her today. Yeah, right. In Texas. That's right.
They're such an amazing bunch. I mean, I genuinely, I know the Dalton gang is such a popular term, but I think of you guys as the Dalton family now at this stage, because you really are like a second family. And I think it's amazing that's the thing that people that maybe haven't been to one of your seminars don't realize, that this might sound a bit out there to say it's a life-changing event, but it really is. I've had people, I have to give a shout out to one of our students, Isa, who came over to Costa Rica with us last year. Yeah. And I hope she won't mind me saying it, but she was like, yeah, that's an absolutely life-changing experience. It's a once in a lifetime. It's an amazing event, way more than you could possibly imagine.
I've always been, even in the music business, I've always been under the philosophy of bringing people together, bringing educators together. This isn't a competitive business. Everybody has a little competition in them, and that's good. A little competition is a good thing because it keeps us stimulated. But, we have to appreciate what the other person brings. I was a workshop junkie for years and years and years, and I couldn't get enough. I always thought the other person was better than me, and it just spurred me on. And, like I say a lot, I steal a lot of their ideas and take credit for them unless they're around. And then you give them credit when they're around. I say that all the time, and it's actually true. But yeah, I just love bringing all these guys together because we can talk on the phone, we can email, and we can do Facebook and all that stuff. It's not the same. Getting everybody in that room together, all those bright minds and enthusiastic students, and just giving them more than they expect.
Yeah.
Perfect, great staging and all that stuff. Just like it's an event, making an event. So it's fun.
Speaking of which, I saw an ad popped up the other day, I think on Facebook, for the World Massage Festival as well. That's next year, isn't it? 2021?
Yes, I'm not doing conventions or conferences anymore, but I am going to do that in 2021. It's at Planet Hollywood in Vegas.
Excellent.
Could be nice. Could be fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think Til's going to be teaching there. I think maybe even Whitney's on that bill too. There's a whole bunch of great educators that are going to be teaching at that thing. So it should be packed and a lot of fun.
Eric, you were saying that you're working on a couple of different courses, or you're kind of planning on your next 2 courses as a complement to the MMT program. Yeah, I know you've already added in your assessment course, which is amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about those? Or are they still kind of in the developmental stage?
Yeah, they're all in the developmental stage always, even when they're done, unfortunately. No, I keep having requests forever. And Paul Kelly and I got into this before, bringing people in. We didn't do the history taking, which is, I'm going to include that, just like a person would come in your office. Matter of fact, I think we're going to film it like that. Them coming into my little place here, and how you walk them through and how you talk to them. And then, of course, the assessments, physical assessments, and basically, I think history taking is just as important, at least, as physical assessments. You know what? After you've done it for years and years and years, what they're telling you is you start picking up little threads of things. And so it's history taking is a kind of a lost art. I think people fluff over that, or my biggest mistake in history taking with my early years, from my first 15 years, was, people would come in and they go, yeah, I've got pain down this lateral side of my leg, da, 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 da. I immediately started to brand it. Oh, I know what that is. I boxed it in. Big mistake, big mistake. I quit listening. The whole thing, that's called symptom solution and critical thinking, because critical thinking is really what it's all about, trying to put all that stuff together and come up with some sort of treatment plan, and try to explain it to the people in terms that aren't threatening. And you're always thinking about talking limbic system to limbic system, right? The prefrontal cortex is going to filter a lot of that stuff out. But what you really want to do is you want to get down into critter brain to critter brain, as Diane, what's her name, Jacobs says. And all of a sudden you realize, wow, I'm doing some pretty fabulous things here, because you have tapped into those 2 critter brains are talking to one. No, yeah, this is what I need. I trust that when I get out there, you've got to really appreciate and take advantage of those times when you get in that zone. So yeah, that's happening. And then we've got another one that's going to be just for pathologies, people who've had hip replacements, knee replacements, Harrington rods, neck fusions, ankle fusions, all sorts of stuff like that. Excellent. What you do when leading up to the particular surgery or procedure you're getting ready to have, and what you can and cannot do after, and how long you wait before you do start doing rehab. I'm really excited about that. And actually, back to what you were saying a while ago on this video, that this Facebook thing that we're doing, we did the first part was belly work, bloating, etc. And then brought breathing in. And then this third segment, my wife's had hip replacement, so I used her as an example, but it's pathology. So what kind of hip replacement are they getting? Are they getting an anterior, which they don't cut many muscles, go right to move sartorius and all that stuff over and get out of the nerves. Of course, they don't have very much. We've got to make sure that you get a good surgeon, because they can't see well when they do anterior, but there's less rehab. Or posterior, which is what my wife had. She fell 12 feet down onto a stone floor and broke her hip up, and they pinned it, which is usually the first thing they're going to do if it breaks in the femoral neck. It didn't work. And then I talked her into getting this real funky surgery where they put a plate on the side. Second surgery didn't work. And so finally a total hip replacement and a posterior. So you have to know, because they have to cut the external hip rotators, you know. So when they cut those external hip rotators in that bottom segment of gluteus maximus, and they have to reattach them, I find that a lot of people become externally rotated in that femur because it's a little bit shorter, you know, and sometimes the brain will just overcome that, say, no, that's not how I walk. This is how I walk, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just a new thing that you get.
Eric, I think that's a brilliant one, because I've certainly treated clients in pre-surgical care and post-surgical care, and surgeons have oftentimes said to them, oh my God, this is like a miracle. I can't believe the difference. That it's such an area that therapists can be so effective. And yet I think a lot of people are, because they don't know what they should or shouldn't be doing, they don't have any guidance, there's no education out there on it, they're disinclined to work. They're overly hesitant when they could really be beneficial. I think that's going to be an amazing one.
Yeah, particularly, you know, one of the things that I hear all the time are my neck fusion people, because, you know, they almost always now, they didn't 25 years ago, but now they almost always fuse when they do any sort of one or two segments in the cervical spine. They'll go ahead and fuse it. And so people go, oh gosh, can I do this side bending, a translation and all this stuff? And I go, well, you know, absolutely you can, but you have to be careful. And the reason that it's important to do that is, and the surgeons are aware of this, because they usually tell you after a neck surgery, they say, well, you know, this is going to be fine. This C4-5 is going to be fine, but we've got to watch C3-4 and C6, C7, the ones above and below it, right? So you got to keep those kind of mobile. You don't want things jamming up there, protecting muscle guarding, all that stuff locking up in there. So I find that a really nice, gentle mobilization, doing it right, and just understanding exactly what the pathology is. I love to read radiology reports. And Philip Greenman at Michigan State got me into that, talking about how important it was. He said he had used this as an example. He was a big Iron Rolf fan, by the way. It was really odd that turned out to be that way. But he said that you know, just because you study the workings of the brain doesn't mean you're going to be a neurosurgeon, cut somebody's head open and start surgery. You know, he said there's and it's my term that there's no scope of practice for learning for learning. There's no scope of practice. You learn about every possible thing you can. Things that you think are in your life you're never going to. It's never going to apply to your body work. It does. I don't know. That's one of my big fascinations is that, even though there's not a lot of evidence based necessarily for MRIs. I mean, it's not really great evidence based. It's good to know. It's good to know all that stuff, I think. Right.
I'd always say when clients are talking about it, particularly when they've gone for an investigation and they haven't found what they thought it might be, and they kind of go, oh, that was a waste. And I go, no, it's great, because it rules it out. We know what's not there.
Exactly.
You know, or we know what is there, and we know what precautions we need to take. So I always think that stuff's really beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think both of those are really exciting, Eric, because that's something that I've noticed in the last few years. We've started doing like mentoring workshops around our seminars for people to develop their clinical reasoning. And it's always the most experienced therapists that take them, which I find amazing. And then that, you know, knowing more about the pathology side, I think that's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Any kind of a time frame on those, or?
Well, like I said, in 3 weeks, you're going to see a kind of a sneak peek at it. It's not going to be the final filming, but you're going to see my wife's hip problems and some of the things that, you know, that I look for in some of the in assessment, some of the treatment techniques that I might use for a posterior hip replacement, where she's got the, you know, the external hip rotators and it's been reattached and all that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm, you know, there just seems to be projects on top of projects on top of projects. And I heard Til was talking in your podcast with him, you know, he says, well, I'm busier than I ever was, even when I'm traveling right now, you know, and that's the same with me. You know, it's like we have another project coming out too. We have that anthology of a bunch of my magazine articles along with videos that pertain to them, kind of like the ones on my blog, but we've edited them all out and made them a little more sophisticated and in an ebook format. We're going to be releasing that in just the next few weeks. But
I saw as well recently you've had, I've talked to Ann Williams about their book in relation to preventing disease transmission in a massage practice, which is so perfect for now. It's so geared towards what therapists need. You guys have actually partnered up to now turn that into a certificate, which I think is fantastic.
Right, HCEs. No, that is absolutely a brilliant piece of work. The
So
thing
good.
they put together. We work with Erik a lot, and worked with Ann in the past quite a bit too. But I asked them how they got that together so quickly, and there is a little trick to that, and I'm going to give it away. I don't know if Erik and Ann want me to or not, but I'm going to tell it anyway. But she started working on that ahead before COVID ever came out, and so she already had a really beautiful background. And that's why I noticed when you were talking about how you like the little flip things that says, the bacteria, and you turn over,
The
and
tiles.
yeah. Well, she already had those designed, but so the course is much more than just COVID.
Yeah.
It's a course on disease and the diseases that we need to know about, and as therapists. So yeah, I was really honored that they allowed me to give continuing education credits for that. That really that course really about the most informative thing I've seen on this
I was going to say,
process.
because I've taken as part of the what the Irish Massage Therapists Association is doing here in Ireland. We've been reading tons of different documents. We've been looking at what they're doing in different jurisdictions, what our health service is putting out, and nothing comes close to Anne Williams' book because, like you said, there's so much in it. And I was saying to them in the interview, it's like, this should be a course. It should be a course. So the fact that there's now a certificate to go with it, to me, that is the cherry on top.
Yeah, it's great working with them. They're real. They're like me. It's my wife says I have a laser beam right here, and wherever it points is where I obsess. I thought that was pretty
You're going to say
good.
focus, obsess.
Obsessed. No, it's more than focus, dear. It's a lot more than focus, unfortunately, and that's what she's talking about.
You tend to just, I think, from your own focus, you bring people along with you. I think that in itself is an amazing talent. I suppose I'm conscious of people wanting to know, like, where can they get more information? And one of the things I thought that is really generous that you put out is your Technique Tuesday. So if people
Yeah.
haven't signed up to that, sign up to that newsletter.
Right. Yeah, the blog, I think on my blog we have 247 articles or something like that. And YouTube, if they want it free, they can go to YouTube. I have 147 videos on YouTube free, and they can go to the blogs and the articles, and the videos are for free every week if they signed up for the Technique Tuesday newsletter. It goes out to 142,000 people a week.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add or chat about before we wrap up then, Erik?
Just to follow up on what you just said, a lot of good's going to come out of this, and it always does. Life is always yin yang. It is up and down, and it is down the bottom. And just just when you think things can't get worse, something just clicks the next day. That's just how life is. I mean, it's always like this. This has been like this forever. A couple of things that are going to come out of this. First of all, the obvious one, and that is all the research that's being done on viruses. Those little RNA or DNA fragments, whatever the particular virus happens to be, they're hard. It's very hard to understand how they mutate and to predict what they're going to be. And so science is really going to be focusing in on it because there's so much money involved in that. Things that don't get funded as much are like studies on the immune system. That is getting funded. I follow a group of scientists that do immune system studies, and they are getting funding. But the one I'm most interested in, I can't think of the guy's name. I just had my wife watch one of my favorite of his YouTubes they're from San Diego, but he's from England, has this long beard. Can't believe I can't think of his name, but they're an anti-aging. So anti-aging, he says, he always starts his lectures, his TED Talks and stuff with, heart attacks aren't a number one killer of people. Cancer is not the number one killer of people. Aging is the number one killer of people. And so it's a process, but he is fine. That place out in San Diego, that group of research scientists are really starting to get funded now, and that's really the key. So keep the faith, people. It's all good. Everything is going to be fine. Give it time. Give it a little time.
I think that's a perfect note to finish things on, Erik. Really bright, lots to look forward to. And again, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Really appreciate it. I know you're really busy, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you in Oklahoma.
Hey, always great to see you, Aubrey. Looking forward to it too.
Great, Erik. Talk to you again soon.
Okay.
Take care. Thanks. Bye.